Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
Together again.
Together again.
Manhattan. Together again.
Yeah.
So nice to be together again.
It is. It's good. It's been a few minutes. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Al's been globetrotting all over the continent of Africa.
Checking out all the birds, and you saw Timon and Pumbaa in person.
I saw almost all of the Lion King in person. I didn't get a chance to see hyenas, which I really, really wanted to see hyenas, but I have a lot of Zazu and that I haven't posted yet. And I saw Timon and Pumbaa. I have little Puma butts that I'm editing right now because they're wily. Like you go to take a picture and their little legs are, and they look like little roadies. Like if you know our dog Rhodey, they're like little roadies. And so Dave the whole time was like, "Oh my gosh, look, they're so cute!" And the guide is looking at him because Dave's this big guy, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, look how cute they are!" And I am just laughing. But you try and get the front of them, but they just turn and run on their little legs. And I saw all the elephants. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen every elephant in South Africa, Botswana, Zambia. Like, there was a day that they were just all there. There was a moment, a Lion King moment, where we came around the corner at Chobe, and it was like, oh, all the animals are there at one time, except for the lions, obviously. None of the predators were in that area, but like you see like almost all of the animals there. So it was amazing. Like people keep asking me, you know, how was it? And you can't describe it. Like, you know, you're excited and you know it's going to be cool. And then you get there and it's just like, I don't even have the right word. Like,
I was loving following all the pictures and the video. The video of the waterfall was amazing.
Yeah,
I have so many, like on the one side, because we went to both sides of Victoria Falls, and I really felt like I was an Up. I'm like, where's the house going to fly in? And land. But on one side, on the Zimbabwe side, you're going to get wet. Like the minute you get even close to the falls, you're going to get soaked. But you could still walk up to like all of the little lookouts and like see things and take pictures and videos. But then we went to the Zambia side, which is the Livingston side, named after, and they like to find the first tourist that went to Victoria Falls, because
I love that.
He's not the first person that was there.
Awesome.
Obviously, the locals knew about it and called it something totally different, but he was the first tourist to visit the falls. And on that side, like we were during high season, and it was like you were in like a storm. Like it's thundering. They call it the mist that thunders or something like that. And it's thundering, and we're trying to walk across the bridge, and it's just like you're in a, you know, storm, but it's so cool and it's so warm, and you dry. If you're wearing the right clothes, you dry very quickly. And it's so funny because a lot of the locals will just go because it's a nice walk through the park, but they don't go into the wet area. So then they see all of us tourists walking out just like soaked and smiling, and they're just laughing at us. And but it was like, just, I don't think me and my dad and Dave were more quiet on that trip than in that moment, because you're experience something that a lot of people will never ever see, but also one of the natural 7 wonders of the world. And now I've seen 3 of them.
That's so cool.
So now I've got to go to Brazil. I gotta go finish that list out. But this is like the one thing that Dave and I noticed about our trip is that the nicest people we've ever met in our lives were in South Africa. Like everyone we met, even when we were in Johannesburg at the tattoo convention, and Dave's been to a lot of tattoo conventions, every tattoo artist is walking around like getting to know you. My dad made so many friends. Like he was known because he's just walking around talking to everybody, and so cool. Like they're like, oh yeah, we met your dad, and you know, is your dad here, and like all that stuff. And because he's just walking around talking to everybody, and everybody's so friendly. Where usually in the United States, like you go to a tattoo convention and everybody that you already know is pretty friendly, but everyone else is like, get out of my space. I need like we're the best. And I hate to like put that out there, but
no, that
like we're in it. Our country is different.
Yeah.
We are more competitive. We are more, and we met people from all over the world, all over Africa, all over South Africa came to this convention, and it was just really, really cool. And I actually just got a WhatsApp message from one of our tour guides that in Chobe, and I'm actually going to be doing a podcast with him because the two places that we went to that we stayed at when we did a safari, we had to pay a little bit more money, but 85% of all of the money that you pay to be there goes back into the community. They all of their hires are from the local villages of wherever these places are. There's only like 10 people that are allowed to stay, like 10 rooms at each of the locations. And one of the locations, we were the only one there for a whole day. Everybody's like, wow, like all on us. I'm like, I don't know what to do. This isn't how we live our lives. Like, what can we do to help you? I don't like, and so we ended up just having lots of like sit down conversations with them. And like one of the girls that was there, she started out in the scullery and now she's front of house and she wants to be a manager. And I said, I hope when I come back here, like, you're too busy to talk to me. Like you're a manager and she's from the local village. And so this guy, his name's Tebby. He was like significant in getting this connection between this safari group that sets up these like stays. There's 6 of them in total, and we stayed at 2 of them. And they only hire locals. They have training programs. They use all the local farms. The only thing that's like outside of that is like obviously management, like how you pay your taxes, the management stuff. And then of course they had like no Pepsi to be found until the last day. It was all Coke products. Like, Dave had to lower his standards. But and then the last place that we stayed at, actually, they had the owner of Pepsi stayed there at one point, and said, I don't want to see any Coke products here. And so they had some Pepsi products. But no, it was really nice because you get to know everyone and you have your own guide, and that guide lived there. The guide from our second stay in Okavango, he's like, I have grown up here, and 10 years ago we didn't have running water. Like he's like, when I was little, we didn't have a school. And he's like, and 10 years ago, we didn't have running water. And now like they're working on, because elephants just destroy their crops. And so he's like, we're working on educating the farmers so that they know that we need these animals, even though, you know, it's this ecosystem. And so, yeah, I'm going to have him on the podcast, and I really want to go back. And I just like Livingston physically left his heart in South Africa, because when he died, they buried his heart there because he spent so much time doing research there. But I think everyone that goes there definitely leaves a piece of themselves. It's just, it sticks with you. So, and I know Montana says they have the biggest sky, but no, no, they don't. It's beautiful, but South Africa, like that sky in Africa is crazy. It's crazy.
One of the things that I enjoyed kind of observing as the photos were posted was how Dave progressively got more and more local. Like by the end, he looked like he was a safari guide, like ready to
take it over
the khaki head to toe. And I just
once you get into the bush, I bought him very specific clothes because I don't know if you know this about our relationship, but he's the bougier one. I like to camp. I go sit in a hot sauna on purpose, right? Like I like to get dirty and do all these things. And Dave he needs his temperatures controlled a little bit. And so for him and my dad, I read a lot of things. I did a lot of research, and I ordered them the right kind of clothes, because once you get into the bush, one, you're going to get sunburnt like crazy, and both him and my dad sunburn very easily. And so the shirts that I got them not only keep you cool, but they keep you from getting sunburned. Resistant. Yeah. So regardless of how hot or cold it is, your temperature is good. So he had all those clothes, but in Johannesburg, obviously he's not going to wear those because you're in a city. So for a week, but yeah. Right. So, and he even complimented me like halfway through, like the first couple of safari days, he's like, if I didn't have these clothes, I'd be miserable right now. Yeah. And my dad has been wearing his shirts still, like, cause they're just so nice and comfortable and airy and they look nice. But.
I love the fact that like I have seen your dad now in safari outfit and I've seen your dad like in full suit and he just looks dapper no matter what.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like your dad can pull off any type of clothing.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad's the man. And he's stuck at like 79 years old. And like, there was only one day that he listened to his body and he's like, I just need to stay back. And he regrets it. I asked him, I'm like, are you sure? Because we will go as slow as you need us to. And that's when we went over to Zambia to see the other side of Victoria Falls. So when you enter Zimbabwe, you have to buy a visa at the airport. And we, just because I of course did my research and I said, let's get the dual visas just in case we have time to go over the border and go to the other side. And so we did. We paid that little bit of extra. And then we did have time to go over to the other side. But my dad was like, you know, with the time change and all the traveling and everything, he's like, I really need to go. He's like, I'm going to stay here and rest. And he regrets it a little, but I'm glad that he listened, you know, to his body. Cause it's a lot, like it's a lot of, you know, it's an 8-hour difference, for you to get used to. We're still not back to like sleeping correctly. I've never seen Dave wake up before 9 so many times. Like the other day he was up at 7 a.m. like not on purpose. And I'm like, this is our life now. He's like, no, because that's when I wake up. We got so much done before noon. And he was like, I like it. But no, it was amazing. And I would tell anybody that can ever go to go. And I'm definitely going back. We were in the Okavango during green season and not wet season, which is very different. So as I looked out upon the Okavango where we were staying, it's all green. I want it to be all full of water so that I can get in a little boat and go out there and take pictures of the birds. So I am going back to the Okavango.
All right. It's so what a cool place that you would have the two different seasons like that are so extremely different, you know, one where it's water that you can go out on a boat and one where it's just green and pretty. And
well, and what happens is it floods because of storms that are way far away. And so by the time May, June, July hit, the floods have reached them and they fill up. And I did post some pictures from the plane of flying into where we were staying. And there are parts of the Okavango there's some water in there. But we went deep into the Okavango. We didn't go to like the touristy, not that there is touristy, but there's more regular stops that people go to. And we went to a place where, like the airstrip where we landed, like you have to go out and make sure there's no animals on it before the plane comes in. Like there's no elephants out there. And then there's just this little shack with some buckets of sand and a first aid kit. And that's the airport. And that was just really, really cool to be out there every night when we were out at both of our safaris. We had to have, a staff member walk us to where we were staying because we were in it. Like they would walk us in case there was any animals and then we would get in there. And the last place we stayed was a zip up kind of tent thing. So that's the only thing between us and any animal that could walk up. And we would hear, you know, things going on. And then they would tell us the next morning, like a lion walked through here last night. And, you know, like, but that's again, fine. They don't really want us unless you're provoking. The biggest thing that I didn't know but makes a ton of sense is that people that take you on a safari guides, they do not take guns because animals can smell that gunpowder, and the memory of what has happened to not only them but animals before them it's in there. So they immediately sense that there is a problem.
Oh wow.
Because of poaching. And we didn't actually get to see any rhinos out there. We got to see one in Johannesburg, but they've moved all the rhinos out of Botswana because of the poaching problem.
Yeah.
But they're going to be slowly integrating them back in the next couple of years because they finally have gotten them back to a good population, but they moved them to a safe place because there's still a poaching problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an adventure.
Yeah.
Well, we just shoveled snow.
I know. I literally was showing these guys, like, they're like, so where are you from? And we're like, well, we're from United States and we're from Utah. Well, where's Utah? And so we like kind of explain where we're located. And I'm like, well, it's snowing there, like literally record blizzard there right now. And I'm showing them pictures of like people, it's snow like right. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And I said, yeah, and it's going to be dangerous because when we get home, it's going to warm up and then it's going to flood. And they were like, oh my, and so it's just, a lot of them have never seen snow.
I was going to say them seeing that much snow is just as amazing as us seeing all the rhinos and the hippos and the birds. And
well, and they all work there and they're like, I said, you have the best workspace ever. And they're like, I don't get tired of it. Like you're out here and, like our first guide in Chobe, he was determined to get us those lions and he did. And we came around a corner and it's literally like,
holy cow,
maybe 10 feet, maybe.
Jeez.
Wow.
And he's like, just take your photos. I'm like, okay. But I felt safe with him for some reason. You guys know I don't always make the best decisions to get a photo, but I felt safe. And then the elephants, like we come around the corner and I could literally reach out. I mean, don't reach out and touch them. You're not supposed to leave. You're not supposed to
hands and arms inside
and you don't stand up when you see animals unless you're far enough away because it breaks that barrier.
Yeah.
They notice the machine, but they will only notice you if you move. And so, and then he's like, okay, well, let's just go stop in the middle of the bush and get out and have food. And I'm like, wait a second, you just said.
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed messages here.
The only thing we didn't see was the leopard. So we didn't see the big five, but we tried really, really hard.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Man.
And then I came home and I walked out of a movie. I'm a changed person. And Tracy and I are going to talk all about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we going to go there here now? Because I think we're going to do a podcast on what to see with Val.
This is a teaser.
With Val, Tracy is going to talk with me, and we're both going to talk about the new Nicolas Cage movie, Renfield, and the fact that I walked out of a movie in the first time since 1998.
I walked out of Dumb and Dumber, but I haven't done so since.
I didn't see that in the theater, so.
I would have never walked out of Dumb and Dumber because But here's the thing. I don't want to bring it up because growing up in my family, the way we dealt with hard emotional stuff is we pretended it wasn't there and just kept going forward, which is a totally healthy way to handle all things.
Oh, totally.
So we're just going to pretend like you guys haven't even talked to each other about Renfield because I don't, I hate it when mom and dad fight.
We haven't actually.
It'll be a friendly banter.
Well,
it will.
Yeah. Just kidding.
See, already this is too confrontational for me. What's happening right now?
You know what's also confrontational though? Chocolat. You wouldn't think that it is, but it's a movie totally about not confronting the things that bother you and make you uncomfortable.
Yes. But before we talk about that, I do want to talk about something that would make us more comfortable. And that is if you became a patron on our Patreon, please, if you could find it in your hearts and in your wallets to support us there, we would greatly appreciate it. $3 a month gets you in the club. That means it gets you exclusive content like newer movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. You want to hear what we thought about that one because we had a lot of thoughts. Or Creed 3 or Dungeons and Dragons, and that one is featuring Robert Neal, good friend of the program. So check it out. Join our Patreon. $3 a month gets you that access. $12 a month makes you a superstar executive producer, and we'll add your name to the credits of our show here and give you a shout out, and you'll get to pick a topic for a future episode. So some pretty cool benefits, and we're going to have more as we get ready to start raising funds and go to Disneyland to run what equates to 6.2 miles for those that aren't familiar with the metric system, a 10K. Tracy, what are we doing with my life right now?
We are going to have the best time. You're going to get hooked. You're going to get the medal. You're going to get the finish line. You're going to want to do it again.
The important thing is we are raising money. I don't know about any of that. I'm not willing to, like, that may all be true.
Well, and I want to be like clear. The money that you give to our team does not go to us.
No.
It doesn't go to us like buying ears or churros at Disneyland. That's all on us. We're going to pay for all of that. But it goes to the American Cancer Association because that's what we are raising money for.
Yep. They just had their springtime surprise in Walt Disney World. I was up at 3 a.m. cheering on my ACS runners. So it's something that's very near and dear to all of our hearts. Cancer has affected all of us. So this is a cause that's very important to all of us. And we're gonna start. We're gonna go through downtown Disney, head into Cars Land, all through California Adventure, go backstage. The last time I did a Disneyland 10K, we actually got to see where they keep the horses. So that was really cool. So the horses from Main Street and stuff.
Yeah.
I've go backstage, go into Disneyland. You get to run through the castle, the Matterhorn, right by the Matterhorn, all the stuff, and then back out and through and wrap it up and you're done. So it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be a lot of fun. Will they, I know that they typically have like water stations, but as we go through, will they have churro stations where
they should?
So I have let
they should
Sammy and Dave know that they are in charge of keeping us up on the sweet treats. So
thank you. Yes.
If we want to give them different stopping points where they need to put their hand out, and then we can just grab and run.
I think that's a great idea.
But I definitely told them at the finish line, we're going to want those beignets warm and ready to go. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I'm very excited, and I'm excited to do it with the two of you. I think this will be a great thing. You guys are going to want to follow our adventures in training and preparing and getting ready and the different activities we're going to do. We're already talking about different screenings and trivia nights and things like that. So we're going to have a lot of fun building up to the race, and we're going to have a lot of fun at the race. It's a great experience, great opportunity, and I'm glad to be part of it with you guys. So
just so excited.
I'll complain about it between now and January.
There'll be a lot of cursing. Yes. There'll be a lot of mental cursing and a lot of dag-nabbits and what the hex and, you know.
Dag-nabbits.
I like the dag-nabbit.
Tracy knows me so well. He knows it's going to be dag-nabbit instead of.
I don't know that I've ever heard you say dag-nabbit.
No, I haven't. Well, I don't know that I'd say I'd never have said it, but it's
I've
definitely
never
not
heard you
my
say
normal vernacular.
Yeah. But I'm trying to keep this family friendly. It's not like it's not like Renfield. It's not like Ben Schwartz's
Don't worry.
character.
Why are we going back to that movie? Like, why? Listen, I don't want to talk about it.
That has a lot of F-bombs. So that's all I'm saying.
You know, and not all of those are created equal, because I do enjoy Ted Lasso, which also has a lot of that.
Yes. Ted Lasso is. Oh.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz dropping the F-bomb is just delicious. I don't know why, but it works.
Well, let's talk about a movie. So
you know what else is delicious?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's any.
It is delicious.
But it is delicious.
Yeah, you can't go into this movie
on an empty stomach.
On an empty stomach, or like if you're on some kind of sugar diet or whatever, like just don't just push it aside for a minute until you can have a treat. Like you want to sit down with this movie in a cozy outfit on your couch or in your bed, maybe even a fire going, and you want to have some treats and a nice, you know, just you want to. This is one of those movies that calms me down.
Yes.
And it's also, we talked about this before we started recording, but it's an interesting movie for Johnny Depp. It's an interesting role for him. Very different than I think what a lot of people are accustomed to seeing him in, what I'm accustomed to seeing him in. I like that I say that, like we watch some secret movies with Johnny Depp that people haven't seen. I don't know, but
yeah, no, I think it's,
well,
if
you
you're
have an in with Tim Burton, so you know.
Yeah.
You get all,
well, yeah, Tim and I are friends, but those are typical Johnny Depp movies, you know.
Yeah.
Tim and
No,
I are not
it's
friends, just
it's
in case
really
anybody's
great
wondering.
because this movie came out in a time where I think he didn't need to choose this role, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big role for him. But it also, like, I do think he has a very significant role, right, in the movie.
It's definitely important, but it's not a headlining role. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like it because you actually, I feel like you get to see a little bit of him in the movie instead of like, well, one, I don't know. I feel like he's a character actor and that's why a lot of people like him. That's also why a lot of people don't like him. But this movie came out right after Sleepy Hollow. And some people don't like that movie at all. I actually visually enjoyed that movie a lot. We've never talked about that movie. And then after this movie, he did a totally opposite movie called Blow.
Yes, very different.
So literally he did
that's the Penelope Cruz one.
Yeah, he did Sleepy Hollow, Blow, and then Chocolat. But I don't know that he necessarily
filmed them
like
in that order.
recorded them all in that order because movies come out in a weird and different way. But it was kind of a little bit of a slow time for him because for a while he had a couple movies coming out a year. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that he wasn't this outlandish character that we're so used to him being.
Which he could have been, being a gypsy. This could have been something very over the top, and
and
so
probably offensive.
For
gypsy people.
And originally we chose this movie because we were going to do it for Easter, and this movie takes place during Lent. And if you're not familiar with what Lent is, I grew up Catholic. And so during Lent, you're supposed to give things up. And if you're very traditional Catholic in some of the older countries like Paris, which is where they are, then you fast a lot. It's not like, oh, I'm going to give up chocolate, or I'm going to give up watching my favorite TV show, or I'm, like what we do here in America is like we pick something and then we pat ourselves on the back. And but in more of the old world countries, like they actually do like fasting, and they give up a lot of worldly things, like unnecessary things for the entire duration of Lent. And there's a character in the movie who I love him so much. I love Alfred Molina.
Yes.
He plays the Count, but he is one of my favorite actors. And I know you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know who this person is. You do.
Yes, you do.
Every time you see him in a movie, you're like, oh, I love this guy, but you don't ever remember his name, but I know you know him. And what I like about his character is that if people make other people miserable when they're miserable, and he is a very unhappy person because of the things that are going on in his life. And you kind of get caught up in this story. You get caught up in, okay, well, it's a religious town. And so, they have to follow the rules and everything. But he's more religious than the young priest singing Elvis songs.
he's the mayor. Yeah.
But he's only that way because he's unhappy.
Right.
His wife has left him, and probably in a very torrid way that he can't share with people, which also makes him feel...
Well, even if it's not a torrid thing, just the fact that his wife left him in a small town like that, that's a huge deal. That's an embarrassment.
Yeah. So he feels he's taking on, like, I need to do the most. I need to fast the most. I need to make sure people are being the best. But really in doing that, he kind of brings out the worst.
Yeah. And most people will know Alfred Molina from Spider-Man, Doc Ock.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those that don't know who Alfred Spider-Man, Doc Ock, and also Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is one of my favorite.
Right.
Yes.
at the very beginning.
Yeah.
The one that
Come
anyway.
the idol. Come the what?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and it's interesting because I think people that I think these kinds of stories are interesting where you're in a community that is so heavily influenced by religion and things like that, because if you haven't experienced that, it's very different than
Mhm.
other communities that you might be part of.
Yeah.
And especially in Europe, just in general, having spent a couple of years there and talking a lot about religion during that couple of years,
Mhm.
like the religion that you are is more than just like that's the church that I go to on Sundays. For a lot of people, that is their heritage, their
Yeah.
family, their culture, their society. Even if they aren't going to church every week, they identify
Yeah.
they identify as that religion,
Sure.
and it's just a part of who they are. And I don't know that we get that as much in the United States, because of how religion and society have been different in the
I think
US
Mhm.
in the
compared
deep
to.
south and in places like
Yeah.
Boston, you're going to
Yeah.
see that. But in the deep south, I think you definitely see that it's a way of life. It's not
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not like I really like this band. Like,
Yeah. Right.
it's
Right.
this is who you are instrumentally as a person.
Right.
And but I do feel that the town is only this hardcore religion because they are so afraid of what other
Anything
people
different.
and what is going to be said about them. I think religion is a part of them because it has been their life, but I don't think they're as hardcore as the count, as the mayor.
No. No.
And
Right.
they
No.
want to explore other things. And it's so funny watching Juliet Binoche's character. And she's like, I can't not like
How-
she just
How is
watching
she
her
not a bigger
face.
star? My
Well,
word.
and at
Yeah.
the time, but like if you haven't seen her on screen in a while, and she was in a movie that I really enjoyed last year. I won't get into that one, but she's still making things, so look her up.
Yeah.
But she is just breathtaking.
Mhm.
Like when she is on screen, she is interesting as an
Mhm.
actress, but she also is just like I can't not watch her. Like
Yeah,
you
but-
find yourself kind of leaning forward a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. And she does, there's so many times in this movie where she does such subtle stuff with just a little flick of the eye, a raise of
Yeah.
an eyebrow, a turn of a smile. And it's just so subtle and so beautifully done. It's just fantastic. She's just enchanting. You can't help but not, you just, like you said, Val, you just get sucked into the performance.
Mhm.
Well, I think with movies like this where there's not a whole lot to distract you from the actors and the story that's being told, you pick up
Right.
on a lot of those things, and because that's really what drives the story forward, and what drives or what grabs your attention and keeps it. It's the actors and their portrayal of these characters. And I think when you're in a quieter movie like this, it's easier to pick up on that.
Hey,
You're not
Jake,
Not as
your
much.
microphone just went a little
I think it's better now.
mumbly. Talk one more time.
Oh, that was on purpose.
No, that you're
is it
good now.
better?
But for a second there, it kind of went
It's
like you
got
were
tin
in a
candy.
pool. Like
It's-
I
you
may
were
have
in a-
leaned
You have
too far
that
back.
tin
This,
can with the string. Yeah.
yeah.
So restate.
Anyway, I was just saying, in these quieter movies, I think you can pick up on a lot of those things that you're talking about, Tracy, with the performances, because there's not really anything else to distract you from the actors and the story that's being told.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that's refreshing after a lot of the big action.
Mhm.
And I like those movies too. But I think
Right.
that's why I enjoy so many different kinds of movies, because you get different things from each one.
The other role in this movie that I think people, there's actually a couple of actors that are in this movie that you see things and you're like, I have never really seen them in a role like this, but you have Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yeah. And
who,
I forgot she was in this. And like, it took me about halfway through the movie and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yeah. And it's because we love her in The Matrix and we love her as this like kick butt,
Mhm.
lady. And she is, she does such a good job at playing this character that you do forget that that's who you're watching. And I think that's what I love so much about this movie is that everyone melts into their characters. Chocolatey melt. But I didn't mean to.
That was
cool. We're not very good at awesome segues because we just point them out instead of just letting it resonate with you.
But I feel like that's kind of become our thing. If we stop doing that, it would be weird,
right? It's kind of like somebody that points out their joke. That was funny, right? Like I just did a joke.
The real life Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in America.
But like I love her, and then I love, and I know I'm gonna ruin his name because I don't ever say it right, but Peter Stormare.
I think that's how you say it.
Is it Stormare?
That's how I've heard it.
Yeah, he is fantastic. But then like this was kind of the movie. This one, along with Tea with Mussolini, that I fell in love with Judy Dench, and I know that's crazy because Judy Dench has been in a lot of things, but I didn't get to know a lot of the British lady actors until I was a little bit older. And I saw this movie and I saw Tea with Mussolini, and then you kind of get into this love of these women of British film. But what I like about this movie with her is, again, she's not over the top. It's so hard to be a quiet character. I don't think people understand, like, drama is a lot harder sometimes than it is to just like be these, outspoken, over the top character. And I'm not saying any of it's easy. I couldn't do any of it.
Right.
But to be able to hold yourself back, and especially like Johnny Depp in this movie.
And to keep the audience engaged.
Yes.
In that performance.
It's quiet and it's slow and it's meaningful and everything has a reason.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel slow.
Right.
The tone of the movie, the coloring of the movie.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Is great, but it doesn't, to me, it didn't feel slow. I've watched this movie at least 30 times since it has come out. And one, because it's really beautiful, and two, because I just really love all of these characters, the side characters, the old man with his dog and the lady that's mourning with her sisters. And when he goes in and he's like, well, my wife died during the war. Well, not that war, the one that was way, way before that war. And she's like, okay. Like, it's just, I don't know. They're just little fun stories. And
the thing I loved with this one was the cinematography. So whenever we're with the mayor, it's very hard light, hard shadows, hard angles. And then we get over to the Chocolat shop.
Yeah.
And everything is soft and diffused.
Soft and blown out. Yeah.
Blown out. And just the pictures of the chocolate being melted and poured. And I'm like, I just want to get a spoon. I just want to eat that,
And then you're in the town and it's these grays and blues until people start making their own decisions, and then all of the other colors start coming in.
The boat shows up, and all of a sudden you start seeing greens and yellows and orange, and
Yep, it's well done. Well, but I feel bad. We get into the technical stuff, and I'm like with you guys, and I get it, but I don't have anything more to say except I agree. It was great. So, and the thing for me, that I love is when you guys do point that out. Like, I know I feel that when I'm watching the movie, but I don't necessarily recognize why it is. And so when you guys break it down like that, it makes me feel like, okay, now I get it. And then when I'm sitting around with other people, I can say stuff like, well, the cinematography, I don't know if you when we're discussing Chocolat, which is often discussed around the water cooler at work, obviously.
100%.
Are there still water coolers at work?
I don't go to the office enough to know.
This is my office right here.
But that's the thing. A really good cinematographer, a really good art director, a really good director will do all of these things. And it's funny because when I taught film, I would have students be like, do they really think about this stuff, or are you guys just reading into it because you want to be pretentious and cool? And it's like, sometimes yes. Sometimes there are some movies where you're like, there's no subtle messaging here, But there is a lot of times where they plant these things and they want to, because to me, if I notice it immediately in a film, typically it's because they've done it wrong. I want to get so engrossed in the story that I feel this, and then I look back on it, and then I start to pick that stuff up.
Yeah. For me, what's so great about film is this art form is all of the other art forms that we love in one. Everything that we love about painting and photography and music and composition, because we could all walk into a museum and we could look at a painting and we're all going to take away our own thing. So when you're watching a movie, sometimes I'm going to see things that I need to see from that movie right now.
Right.
You know, and so when people say, oh, it's just pretentious that you see all these, you just want to see it. Yeah, sometimes I do want to see it. And that's what's so great about it.
Because
that's what's and that's what's so great about the interpretation of art. And that's what's like being a film critic, like it's just my opinion. It's not, it's my interpretation. It's my opinion. And Jake, you don't have to have gone to school to have that. Everyone can go into a movie and have that movie make them feel one way or another, or they see one thing or another. And your opinion on what you took away from that art form is legitimate, you know? And so that's why I don't get so angry when I don't care for a movie, but someone else does. In fact, that makes me actually so excited, because that means that two people went into a movie and we saw two totally different things by watching the same thing. How cool is that? Right? Like, how neat is that? Like, we both sat down, we both looked at the same thing, and we came out with something totally different.
Yeah.
Like, that is cool to me, because, and it's not wrong or right. You know, it's just like you're reading a book or anything. And so film to me is so important and so strong, because it can be anything. And I know there are some filmmakers that they want you to see exactly what they made.
Yes.
James Cameron. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, he is very specific with what he does, and he's very technical, and they're very things, but I still don't think he's going to be angry if you felt something different than what he made. But I don't know. It's just, and with this movie, with Chocolat, like, I know we've been talking about religion, is you don't have to be religious to watch this movie and get something out of it, because it's not in the way that you think. It's more of, like I said, it's the way that all of these people have something going on in their life that they have to deal with, and they have to move on from, or they have to acknowledge. Even our main characters, Juliet Binoche's character seems to be this strong woman that knows everything, that's put together, that's helping people, and she's messed up.
Yeah.
Like, she's got some issues.
And she's got issues with her daughter. It's not a perfect relationship there. Yeah. And it's, and the one thing that kind of is, you know, that string that's holding them all together is this religious aspect of the town. But one of my favorite scenes is Easter morning, when how many of us have wanted to break into a chocolate store and just eat everything? And then he falls asleep in the window. He's like a drunken stupor. But it's because he's been fasting on just tea and lemon and water. And so then he literally gets drunk on this sugar. And to me, that moment is like, everything that you do, regardless of whether it is supposed to be good for you or bad for you, like, everything in, what's the word I'm looking for? Moderation, right? He wants everyone to be this way because he feels like it's going to save him. Right. You can fast. You can do all these things in moderation, because your body still needs this. Because if not, you're going to go off the deep end, right? And that's, he went off the deep end, not only physically, emotionally, like spiritually, like everything. And this isn't like light chocolate. This is like decadent.
No, this is heavy.
This isn't like a Hershey's bunny that you just ate the ears off of and you feel guilty about it. Like,
it's not like he just ate like a giant bag of M&Ms.
No,
right, that's what's happening here. This is
But
And
I
you know what,
wonder.
Stuff that you take a couple bites and you're like, that is rich. I'm going to save that
And,
for
and,
Yeah.
later.
and I got to
And
imagine he probably had a religious experience after fasting all that time, and then you get that
Right.
chocolate, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, the universe is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't get into why I think anyway, never mind. I'll put that thought aside for a minute, but just shooting that scene
Oh
though,
my
like I
gosh.
wonder how many takes they had to do from different angles, and that smell of chocolate and the tasting of the chocolate, and like, was he done with chocolate by the time he was, done shooting this movie? It'd be great to like really dig
That
a
would
little
be
bit deeper and
Yeah.
see what he says about that,
I haven't
because
had any chocolate since I filmed that scene.
But he pulls an Augustus Gloop. He's got
Yeah.
all the chocolate just smeared, and
Mhm.
I love that scene where he's like, and they're just like, just take him, just don't make a big deal of it, just take
Yeah.
him home, get him cleaned up,
Yeah.
letting him save face, which they could have made him an example of him.
Yeah, they could have pulled him into the center
Yeah.
of town,
Uh-huh. And
But
instead
they
it
all
was the
knew,
kindness and forgiveness,
yeah,
which is the heart
he's
of this
human.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the birthday dinner.
Oh,
They're putting chocolate on chicken. And like, I'm like, when I saw this movie, I was like, can we do that? Like, is that allowed?
legal?
How can I go do that right now? How have we not had this?
Yeah,
How
I've
has
never
this not
done it
been an
before.
experience in my life?
Because we were raised on Hershey wax chocolate.
Oh my goodness, it's so true. And it's just so not as good.
That's what we were raised on.
Like,
So then when
don't be
we
smacking
see
it
a
out of my
movie like
hand.
this, and we're like, why are they putting chocolate on chicken? That sounds terrible. And when you know what real chocolate is and what real chocolate can do, you're like, that makes perfect sense.
No, I was just
Yeah.
like, I felt gypped. I
Yeah,
was like,
why
why
don't we have
hasn't this
chocolate
been
chicken?
in my life?
Yeah. The
Like
first time I
Popeyes,
had European
KFC, get
chocolate-
on this.
Yeah.
Where's my chocolate
Right?
chicken?
How have they not done it yet?
Like
How
the
has
dipping
Taco
sauces
Bell
could be your honey mustard, your ranch, and then chocolate. And you
chocolate
could
mole?
just dip the chicken. Yeah.
You know what I miss?
Not.
And this is weird and a little off topic, but I miss the honey packets that McDonald's used to have that you could dip the nuggets in. That
Yeah.
What
was
happened
good.
to them? I don't eat
I
at
don't know. They
McDonald's, so
stopped.
I
They
don't know.
stopped giving those out, but that was a big staple in childhood. Having the sweet chicken. Oh,
Yeah. And it was good too. You dip it in the honey.
oh,
You get it, or like, yeah, it would be like the thing that
oh.
I didn't like about the honey cups though,
Yeah,
Tracy, was it was one that you peeled the top off, right? And it was a
right.
little plastic container, but it was like half the size of the other dipping sauces.
Yeah, and you have a
So
big
you had
nugget.
yeah. And the nugget, like, anyway,
You get like the
I
tip of
wanted
the
it
nugget.
drenched in the honey, which
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't have been as good, but
But this movie, man, I'm like, I want to explore all the different. And I love the fact that she had like this little wheel where she would like
Yes.
predict what somebody's favorite was, and that whole recurring thing with the Johnny Depp character was so great. He's like, yeah, that's good.
It's not my
My
favorite.
yeah.
And I just love that song when they're walking down to the thing, dun 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 dun. Like, I just love. They're just so happy, and they're all just
Yeah.
playing,
Yep.
and they're all, yeah. And then she had to go and ruin it. Actually, the guy ruined it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it just, I don't know. It's
It's
just
just a
it's
feel-good
such a
movie.
quiet, good movie
Yeah.
that if you have a night where you're stressed out, it's been a hard week, you don't want to have to really think about anything. You just want to watch a good movie.
Right.
This is that movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what I like about doing this show together is when we suggest a movie like that, because I'm trying to think of the context in which I would say, I'm in the mood to watch Chocolat, because I don't know that I would
Yeah.
normally, but
Right.
Value suggested it, and I was like, I haven't seen that for a while, and watching it
had-
again,
I hadn't seen it. This was my first
Yeah.
time. So
yeah, and so I love that because it reminds me of the movies that are out there, or it exposes me to new movies that are out there that are just really good, but they, this isn't one that like was breaking box office records, or like
Right,
you have to
right.
go see this,
the most talked about film of the year.
yeah, but it was still a really good movie, and it was still really enjoyable. And sometimes it's nice to just have a good, enjoyable movie. you know.
Yeah, and it was different than I thought it would be. For some reason, I always thought that like Johnny Depp was like a major role, and I thought it was going to be much more of like a romance. I thought it was going to be much more of like
Yeah.
this passionate romance, and it's not.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is romance to it, but it's much deeper than that. And it's one that it's not like one that I avoided. It's just one that I just never got to, and I kind of forgot about.
Well, and what I loved about that whole aspect of the story is that during the time this movie was being made, that was the big thing, is these big romance movies. You didn't have a woman that was a main contender in a movie that her picture's literally on the front of it, unless it's a big drama period piece, or unless it's a romance, right?
Yep.
And this woman, this character, has no apologies about who she is as a person.
None.
And it's come down from generations and generations, from her grandmother to her mother. And her daughter is questioning it because her daughter wants something different and something new. And that's a whole other thing. Like these tradition keeps coming up in the movie. But I love that. Yeah, she may not be doing everything right as a mother because this is how she was taught, but she knows who she is. She has no apologies. You know, when the Count comes in and, you know, he calls her and she's like, it's Miss. She's like, I've never been married. And she's got this, you know, this daughter. Yeah, Madame. No. Yeah. She's like, I've never been married. And she wasn't, she didn't say like, oh, I've never been married. She was like,
but you have a kid.
Yeah. Like it was just no apologies.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing. Because we just don't see it enough in a character like this. Usually, again, it has to be like this big, you know, box office, whatever. And she's like, oh, yeah, she's a woman and she's carrying the film and that's what we're pushing on. No.
Yeah.
Even Judy Dench's character, she's like, this is who I am. And if you don't like who I am, then I guess don't hang out with me.
I think that's Judi Dench in general.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think that's
she just showed up on set and they put some clothes on her.
How can you not like Judi Dench? I mean, come on.
I'm sure there's people out there, but I don't want to hang out with them.
I don't want to know that those people exist. They don't exist in my
I'm going to continue pretending like they don't. I will say, Tracy, in your defense, thinking that this was a romance and that Johnny Depp had a bigger role, if you go out and you Google the Chocolat movie poster, it's like him on the cover and she's feeding him chocolate, and it's hard not to. I mean, talk about judging the movie.
That's
by
one of the
cover.
movie posters, but the movie poster that's on like the DVD or the main one is her. So. But yeah, I think that's obviously they wanted to try and push that to get people in the theaters. It's marketing. They want to do that, and there is a little bit of romance, but I also think that their romance isn't a traditional romance, which is also really cool. To see that, you know, there are different walks of life out there. Yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of little messaging in this movie that I think if you watch it and you pay attention and you're open, I don't know, maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah, I loved it. Should we grade?
All right. Yeah, let's give it a grade.
All right, I haven't kicked off for a while. I'll do this one. This to me was like this little gem of a little truffle,
like, a little nugget.
This little nugget, and it was wrapped up in this beautiful box with this beautiful bow, and it just kind of melts. It's just, you know, to do a bad pun, it's delicious. It really is just beautiful to look at. The performances are great. Really captured with the story. I was really enchanted with it. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a solid A.
Wow. All right. What about you, Val?
This one is an A for me as well, just because I know, one, it is beautiful. For me, the pacing of the movie like is perfect for what I need when I turn it on. And I've seen it 30 times. So obviously I enjoy this movie. I enjoy this movie. I haven't counted, but I just know when it came out and how many times I've possibly watched it. But yeah, for me, it's an A. I don't know that it's for everyone, but I do think that, if you gave it a chance, it would be something I think it's a movie, like you said, Tracy, that you think it's one thing and then it's not that thing.
Yeah.
And I do think that if most people sat down and just kind of gave it a chance, you're going to enjoy it. It's not going to be your A, but you're going to enjoy it. You're not going to hate it.
Right.
And now Jake comes out with a C.
Oh, no. I mean, I haven't seen this in years and years until we decided to do it for the show. So it's not one that I've seen 30 times, but it is a really good movie. It's very solid, very well done. The acting is really great. And I mean, Tracy makes me want to go out and buy chocolate the way he just talked about it right now.
I want to go down to the Godiva store.
But then I remembered we don't rate things in desserts. That's our sister program, Cupcake, which you guys need to check out. But I'm going to give it an A. I'm not going to buck the trend. We'll give this a triple A rating. I think this is a really solid movie, and one that if you haven't seen, which is I think possible. I think a lot of people this wasn't on their radar. You should check it out for sure. Yeah. So,
and if you're into cinematography, I mean.
Yeah. And again, I
think we have people that are.
Yeah, everything with this movie is subtle, but it's so well done. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, there you go. Chocolat is an AAA rated movie. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. We will be back next week with another great episode. The three of us together again. I'm looking forward to it. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. And you'll never miss a new episode or anything like that, which would be great. And subscribe to our Patreon. And we'll have more details to come on some of the fundraising activities that we have coming up for the American Cancer Society as we get ready to run 10K in Disneyland. You're going to get sick of hearing it from us, which I hope you don't, but we're going to be talking about it a lot.
Like we said earlier, every dollar goes directly to American Cancer Society.
And the dogs are excited. They're excited about it. They're excited for our race.
They are ready to go and run.
Yeah, they're ready to run with us.
Yeah, every dollar goes to American Cancer. This goes to helping people with lodging. It helps give people rides to appointments. It helps with education. It helps with research. They do so many great things with this money. It's a AAA rated charity, just like our movie Chocolat. So please give a lot, and we hope to see you out in California.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. We appreciate your support. And until next time, we won't see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.